1 month after the Cold War, my boyfriend suddenly posted a moment saying that he was going to get engaged. In the friend group, everyone was frantically at me, "Congratulations, sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, send out red envelopes quickly." When the atmosphere was at its height, my boyfriend suddenly pulled a girl into the group. "Don't call wrongly. This is your real sister-in-law." Chapter 1. After a full month of Cold War with my boyfriend Marcus, he suddenly posted a moments, getting ready to get engaged. The picture is a pair of couples' diamond rings. The diamonds are quite large and shiny. The common friend group immediately exploded. Everyone was frantically at me, urging me to send out red envelopes. But Marcus suddenly pulled a new person into the group. The name is very cute. I'm Marcus's little fairy. After the little fairy entered the group, Marcus directly at everyone, "Don't call wrongly. This is your real sister-in-law." The originally lively and boiling group suddenly froze. I stared at this line of words on the screen and couldn't help laughing angrily. The little fairy began to greet everyone in the group sweetly one by one. Finally, she at me grandly. First, there was a cute princess emoji of "sister, kissy." Then there was a very tea-like sentence, "Sister, I am young. Please give me more advice in the future." I was really annoyed by what I saw and directly quit the group and turned off my phone. Marcus playing such a big game and slapping my face frequently is not the first time. Every time after the Cold War, I was the one who coaxed him in the end. This time, I don't know if he is serious or deliberately trying to anger me, but I really don't have the mood to guess anymore. I simply blocked him in one go. Out of sight, out of mind. Today is supposed to be my birthday. Now with such a scene, I am still a little depressed. I changed into a little black dress and took a taxi to a newly opened tavern in the city center. When I was half drunk, 2 men came to strike up a conversation. I squinted and looked at them, shaking my head to refuse. But these 2 men wouldn't give up and grabbed my arm and wouldn't let go. I was a little anxious. I got up and wanted to leave, but I still couldn't break free. When I turned around, I saw an acquaintance in the corner not far away. Marcus's cousin, Ronan, the youngest and most outstanding surgical expert in the city hospital. He was drinking with friends. He wasn't wearing a white coat. He was wearing a black shirt and trousers and wearing a pair of glasses. His side face was extremely handsome. Especially his nose, it was tall and straight. His jawline was very sharp and sexy. His slender fingers were not holding a scalpel at this time but holding a wine glass. Each finger was like a jade tube. The man's grip on my hand became more and more unrestrained. In a hurry, I shouted in Ronan's direction, "Brother." Ronan didn't turn around, but his friend glanced at me. Then, he gave him a meaningful look and pointed at me. Ronan put down his wine glass, looked over in the direction his friend pointed, and his eyebrows slightly raised. I tried hard to shake off my hand to break free, but still couldn't succeed. Seeing Ronan sitting still, I felt a little aggrieved and pitifully shouted again, "Brother." Ronan took off his glasses, folded them and put them away. He stood up and walked over with his long legs. "Sorry, this is my friend. Please leave." Ronan's voice was a little low and a little cold. The 2 men looked at him. Their eyes fell on the astonishingly expensive steel watch on his wrist and they let go of my hand embarrassedly and left. "Why are you drinking here alone? Where's Marcus?" Ronan looked at me and frowned disapprovingly. "It's not good for girls to drink too much." One shoulder strap of my little camisole dress had slipped down a bit. Ronan's eyes swept over my shoulder and quickly moved away. He turned and took his coat and put it on my shoulder. "I'll call Marcus to come and pick you up." We broke up. I stood up softly. My slightly drunk eyes looked at Ronan charmingly. "Brother, can you take me back?" "Aurora, I am Marcus's cousin." "I know." I took a step forward slowly. I stumbled. Ronan reached out and firmly supported my waist. "Stand still first." "I can't stand still." "Brother, I feel dizzy and can't stand." I looked up at him in his arms and saw a suspicious blush on the tip of his ear. Suddenly, I remembered that last month, when my breast was uncomfortable, I went to the hospital for an examination. I just happened to register for Ronan's expert number. When he examined my breast, I found that his ears quietly turned red. Aurora, I'll ask your best friend to come and pick you up. You sit down first. He took my arm and tried to pull me away. But I directly hugged his waist. Brother, you said last time that you asked me to come back for a re-examination of my breast hyperplasia problem. I forgot to go because of something. Can you examine me again tonight? Chapter 2. After I said this, sure enough, his ears immediately turned red again. He took my hand and pushed me away a little again. He cleared his throat and then asked me very seriously, did it still hurt after taking the medicine? It hurts. Especially in the days before my period comes, it is swollen and painful. I frowned and raised my hand to cover my left chest. Dr. Ronan, do you think the medicine prescribed last time is not good? Come for a re-examination after I go to work tomorrow. But I am in great pain now. Is there any relatively quick pain relief method? You still come out to drink when it hurts? Ronan frowned slightly with his good-looking eyebrows. I bit my lip, looking at him with red eyes. Dr. Ronan, it's my birthday today, and Marcus just officially announced he's with another girl. He looked down at me, and I wasn't sure if it was the drinks or reality, but I thought I saw a flicker of pity in his eyes. Ronan's car was big and spacious. I sat in the back with a small cake topped with a pink candle that he had just bought me. I made a wish and blew out the candle, then, emboldened, smeared a bit of cream on his face. He frowned slightly, obviously irritated, but didn't seem angry. Earlier, before my checkup, he had washed his hands multiple times while attending to other patients. His hands were long and strong, and I thought how they could easily wrap around my waist. My mind wandered into inappropriate territory, making me feel a bit dry-mouthed. His profile was right in front of me, a smudge of cream stark against his handsome face. Unable to resist, I leaned in and licked it off gently. Chapter 3. The cream melted on my tongue, sweet and rich. Aurora, he said, a deep seriousness in his voice as he grasped my wrist. The dim light of the car made his striking face seem incredibly close, and I noticed a hint of disorder in his gaze, while his grip trembled slightly. I could smell the faint scent of antiseptic mixed with a rich, intoxicating aroma. How could anyone be this attractive? In college, he was famously the campus heartthrob. I had snuck peeks at him during class, tried to find excuses to study near him. Once, I managed to sit across from him in the library, where he was so focused on his work that I ended up watching him for 2 hours, eventually falling asleep. Embarrassingly, he woke me up as he left, handing me a tissue for my drool. I was mortified and never showed my face around him again. The next time I saw him, I had just started dating Marcus, who turned out to be Ronan's cousin. I remembered the surprise and delight of seeing him at Marcus's house, but his expression was cold and distant. Marcus had assured me that Ronan was always like this, aloof and uninterested in women, leading many to question his orientation. Aurora, Ronan pulled me closer. Do you know who I am? I know, I stammered, uncertain of my response. Who am I? Brother. Think carefully before you answer. My mind was foggy. Since Marcus and I had broken up, what kind of brother was he now? Dr. Ronan, I corrected myself obediently. Name. He tightened his grip, pulling me almost into his chest, his sharp nose nearly brushing against mine. Ronan, I replied, avoiding his gaze. Is the cream good? He asked unexpectedly. Huh? Before I could process it, he leaned down and kissed me. Chapter 4. The remaining cream lingered on my lips as he gently licked it away. My head buzzed, fingers resting weakly against his chest, lacking the strength to push him away. Close your eyes, he whispered, nibbling my ear. His warm breath sent shivers down my spine, his voice deep and sensuous. When kissing, you can't keep your eyes open, Aurora. Didn't your boyfriend teach you? Ex-boyfriend. I mumbled defensively. Ronan held my chin, his eyes dark and serious, kissing me deeper. It's better that way. He lived in a luxury penthouse downtown, close to the hospital. Naturally, the rent was astronomical. As he prepared to enter the door code, he asked, Aurora, are you sure? We both knew what would happen behind that door. I stepped forward, wrapping my arms around his narrow waist. I'm sure. I figured it was better to give myself to Ronan than waste my time on someone like Marcus. After all, he was my longtime crush. He unlocked the door, and before it was even fully closed, he pressed me against it, kissing me deeply. Don't rush, it's all yours. I wrapped my arms around his neck, feeling dizzy and intoxicated as I whispered in his ear. He paused for a moment, cradling my face, kissing my temples softly. Okay. Chapter 5. I was surprised at how lean Ronan looked, but once he took off his clothes, his body was incredible. After our first time, he casually slipped on loose pajama pants and got up to get me some water. I lay sprawled on the bed, too weak to move, lazily watching his back, the perfect inverted triangle of his physique. Remembering what I had just seen made my cheeks flush. Marcus had said Ronan was uninterested in women, probably due to his long hours as a doctor. But they had no idea what Ronan was really like. His hands, used to wielding a scalpel, had incredible strength. Get up and drink some water, he said, bringing the glass to me. I didn't want to move, pouting lazily. I'm too tired. He patiently helped me drink, and when I finished half the glass, I wanted more. He looked at me, his gaze carrying a hint of desire that made me flustered. It's all yours. His voice was husky as he leaned down, pressing me beneath him. Chapter 6. This wasn't what I wanted. When I woke up in the morning, Ronan had already left for work. There was a note on the bedside table. Breakfast is on the table outside. Heat it up if it's cold. You don't have to work today. I took the day off for you. Rest a bit, and we can have lunch together when I get back. I stared at the note for a long time, feeling a sharp pain in my chest. After a long struggle, I tore it into pieces and threw it in the trash. I quickly showered and dressed, leaving the apartment without waiting for Ronan. Even though I had harbored a crush on him, I had never expected to be with him, especially given his status and capabilities. He could have any woman he wanted. I was likely just a fleeting interest. During our lunch together, he made it clear that our situation was uncomfortable for both of us. It was better to end things before they got complicated. Just forget it ever happened. As soon as I got to my rented room, Marcus called. I hesitated but decided to answer. Even after the breakup, it was best to clarify things. Where are you? My mom wants you to come home for dinner, Marcus said, sounding just like before. It was as if yesterday's announcement and his claim over another woman had never happened. I felt a mix of amusement and heartbreak. Marcus, I thought we broke up yesterday. My tone was calm, but he seemed to explode in response. Aurora, you know I love to have fun, it was just a joke yesterday. He sounded annoyed, as if I were making a big deal out of nothing. I'm almost at your place, hurry up and come downstairs. Didn't you hear me? Marcus, we broke up. Are you sure you want to break up? Yes, breaking up. I'm done with this silly game. You're upset because I asked everyone to call her sister-in-law, right? Mia is just a colleague from my company, also my junior. There's nothing between us. Don't be so petty. I'm not interested in knowing these, Marcus. Don't contact me again in the future. That's it. After saying this, I was about to hang up the phone. But Marcus stopped me. His voice was very gloomy. Aurora, are you crossing the river and tearing down the bridge? Chapter 7. My heart suddenly sank. When I graduated from college, my parents had a very big accident. My father died on the spot. My mother stayed in the ICU for 2 months. Marcus suddenly appeared at this time. He paid for the huge medical expenses and the sky-high compensation for me. He spent a lot of time and countless money for me. In the end, it was he who took care of my parents' funerals. I am an orphan girl who just graduated and lost both parents. There is no way to repay, so I can only accept his pursuit. Now he says I'm crossing the river and tearing down the bridge. I thought of that debt that I can't pay off in my entire life. Helplessly forced smile. Yes, what right do I have to cross the river and tear down the bridge? Even if Marcus is ambiguous with countless women. He has even had relationships with 2 of my colleagues, making them trample on my face like this. But it seems that I am the one who has no right to break up. This is the so-called being in debt to others. Aurora, you are my girlfriend. Those women outside can't compare with you. So, don't be angry anymore. Be good. Change your clothes and go downstairs. Mom and Dad are still waiting at home. In his opinion, this is him bowing his head. If I don't come down the steps, then I am being ungrateful. He loves to play and his private life is quite dirty. There are all kinds of women around him who have never stopped. Although my family is ordinary, I am outstanding in education, have a clean background, and my current job is also decent. Although Marcus's parents look down on me, they look down even more on those women. Therefore, they have always had an attitude of not interfering and not agreeing with my relationship with Marcus. This is the first time they have taken the initiative to ask me to go to Marcus's house for dinner. When I went downstairs after changing clothes, a friend request suddenly came in on WeChat. Aurora, it's me, Ronan. When I saw the 3 words Ronan, an indescribable pain suddenly surged in my heart. Almost suffocating, I leaned against the wall and tightly clutched the front of my clothes. After a while, I held back my tears and calmed down my emotions. Chapter 8. I know I have suppressed myself too much. I only indulged myself this time last night. But there will only be this time. I hardened my heart and rejected his friend request. He didn't send another request or call. In the adult world, this is a clear rejection. Ronan, such a proud son of heaven, is naturally arrogant. He should not take the initiative to find me again. When Marcus saw me coming downstairs, there was obvious contemptuous pride in his eyes. I got in the car and didn't speak. Marcus wanted to hug me, but I shook my head and refused. He cursed impatiently, "Fine, I'll wait until after our engagement to touch you." When we arrived at Marcus's house, Marcus's parents and sister were all there. His sister Vivian has been in poor health since she was a child. She had a kidney transplant more than a year ago, but she didn't recover well. She rarely comes out to see people on weekdays. When Vivian's mother saw me, she was unusually affectionate. "Aurora is here. Sit down quickly." During the chat, she even asked me with concern, "Marcus said that you went for a physical examination last month. How are you? Is there anything uncomfortable?" "It's okay. There is just a little hyperplasia in the breast. There is no problem with other things." That's good, that's good." Vivian's mother looked extremely happy. "Aurora, you and Marcus have been together for almost a year. Look, why not pick a good day and you two get engaged first?" "Yes, I also want to settle down. How about next month?" Marcus also said. "Aurora has no father or mother. How pitiful. Marry over earlier and you can also have relatives to accompany you." Vivian's mother held my hand and looked very loving, but for some reason, I just feel a little strange that I can't tell. Marcus's family was extremely enthusiastic today. When we went back in the evening, Vivian's mother also gave me a new LV bag. "Don't worry about the engagement. Our family will hold it grandly. Aurora, just wait with peace of mind." When I got in the car and left, I looked at the elders of Marcus's family outside the car window who were grinning from ear to ear. And Vivian, who was standing weakly on one side. Her face was as white as paper. I inexplicably felt a chill on my back. After sending me back to the community, Marcus drove away directly. When I got out of the car, I heard him answer the phone. It should still be that little fairy from yesterday. But I pretended not to hear it and walked forward with my somewhat tired body. When I walked downstairs, I saw Ronan standing there in the shadow under the tree with a cigarette in his hand. I was stunned for a moment and subconsciously wanted to hide, but he stubbed out his cigarette and called my name directly. "Dr. Ronan." I could only stand still obediently. "Why didn't you wait for me to come back?" His voice was a little cold. My heart was extremely sour, and my lacrimal glands were also aching. I forced a free and easy smile. "I was drunk last night, Dr. Ronan. Let's pretend nothing happened, okay?" He looked at me, and the look in his eyes became colder and colder. In the end, it seemed to be able to freeze people. "Aurora, are you so casual and so lacking in self-respect?" I held back the tears in my eyes and smiled again. Dr. Ronan, just take it as a bargain. Anyway, I offered myself. He frowned deeply, seemingly a little impatient. He took out the cigarette case and lit another cigarette. I watched him smoking. His face was a little stern, but when he looked at me, I could clearly feel a touch of tenderness. I vaguely remembered last night between the sheets. When I cried softly, he held me in a flustered and helpless way. When coaxing me, there was a strong sense of guilt and affection in his voice. Darling, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was your first time. Chapter 9. I shifted my gaze and suppressed the indescribable discomfort and pain at the bottom of my heart. I didn't want him to detect my abnormality. Dr. Ronan, if there's nothing else, I'll go upstairs first. I turned around and was about to leave. Didn't you break up with Marcus? Dr. Ronan, this is my private matter. Aurora, what difficulties do you have? No, Dr. Ronan. Thank you for your kindness. But now, please leave first, okay? I looked at him. The cigarette between his fingers had accumulated a long section of ash. He forgot to brush it off. I reached out and my finger lightly touched the cigarette between his fingers. The ash scattered and instantly disappeared. Just like my fleeting relationship with him. I was tied to Marcus's boat, but I didn't even have a chance to get off. Ronan might have a little affection for me, but why should I let him help me pay off my debts and drag him into my such a messy life? I'm going up. I turned around and warned myself not to speak anymore and not to look back. Remember to come for a re-examination tomorrow. Ronan's voice was very low. Your health is the most important. Don't let a minor illness turn into a major one. I didn't respond. I lowered my head and quickly walked into the unit doorway. Only then did tears fall drop by drop. Chapter 10. Marcus and that girl named Mia were getting along very passionately. But I didn't want to waste energy on them anymore. I put all my thoughts into work. At the end of the month assessment, our team's performance was excellent. In the evening, we had a party to celebrate. I was forced to drink several more glasses. Due to days of hard work and the stimulation of alcohol, the left side of my chest began to throb again. After going back, I took painkillers and endured until the next day to go to the hospital. I deliberately avoided Ronan and registered with other experts. But unexpectedly, after entering when my number was called, I pushed open the door and saw him sitting in front of the table wearing a clean white coat. I was stunned for a moment and subconsciously turned around to leave. Aurora. Ronan called me. Dr. Dye had something temporary. I'm substituting for the moment. Then I'll come back another day. My complexion was very bad. After last night's hangover and pain, I was extremely haggard. Aurora, first and foremost, I am a doctor. Ronan stood up and took off his mask. Come here, be obedient. When he examined me, he was very professional and serious. There was no distracting thought in his eyes at all. Instead, it made me feel that my own thoughts were unbearable and sordid. Does it hurt here? His finger pressed slightly harder. I winced in pain and let out a low moan. Dr. Ronan, it hurts. Ronan's ears immediately turned red. He coughed lightly, quickly released his hand and shifted his gaze. I quickly pulled down my clothes. You need to take medicine and also cooperate with some physiotherapy. It's not a big problem. Don't worry. He took out a fountain pen and wrote a prescription. Don't stay up late or drink alcohol excessively recently. Pay attention to rest. After he finished writing the list, he didn't give it to me. Wait a moment. I'll ask the nurse to get the medicine. I can do it myself. Go do physiotherapy first. He looked at me, picked up a clean mask and put it on. Today, the doctor on duty in the physiotherapy room is male. It's not very convenient. So, I'll do it for you. There's no need. They are all doctors. It doesn't matter, it matters. Ronan unbuttoned his white coat and walked up to me. Aurora, I don't want others to see you. I was stunned for a moment and couldn't say a word for a while. He looked at me for a long time. Let's go. I followed him to the physiotherapy room. When I took off my clothes and lay down, I still felt a little uncomfortable. I turned my face aside and closed my eyes. Undoubtedly, he was very professional. Relax. Don't be nervous. It will be over soon. Perhaps sensing that my body was tense due to nervousness, his voice was very low and gentle. I slowly relaxed. With the combination of instruments and techniques, the pain was quickly relieved a lot. When having hot compress, I even fell asleep comfortably. So I didn't know that Ronan stood by the bed and looked at me for a long time. Finally, he gently bent down and kissed me. When I left the hospital with the medicine, the eyes of several little nurses looking at me were a bit strange. The little nurse who gave me the medicine couldn't hold back and curiously asked me, "Are you Dr. Ronan's girlfriend?" I shook my head. But our Dr. Ronan never treats female patients like this. The little nurse looked at me enviously. Moreover, for such a small matter, it doesn't need Dr. Ronan to do it at all. But he actually did physiotherapy for you in person. The little nurse couldn't help but want to scream. Really, we were all extremely envious just now. I couldn't help but look back. In the empty corridor, there was no sign of him. Feeling a heavy pain in my heart, I smiled at the little nurse and then entered the elevator. He asked me to come 3 more times, but I know that I probably won't come. The next night, when I returned to my rented house after working overtime and was exhausted to death, Marcus called and asked me to come over. I didn't want to go originally, but he probably had drunk too much and his temper was terrifyingly big. I sat on the bed and stared blankly for a while. Then I still took my phone and bag and went out. On the way, I received another WeChat message from Marcus. "Sister, please bring 2 boxes of condoms. Remember to buy the largest size." Chapter 11. I turned off WeChat with an expressionless face. Surprisingly, there wasn't even a trace of sadness in my heart. When I arrived at the hotel, I went upstairs and knocked on the door with the things I bought. It was that little fairy Mia who opened the door. I gave her the things and was about to turn around and leave. But Marcus, drunk, called out to me, "Aurora, you fucking come back here." Marcus, don't be angry. Sister probably didn't come in because she was concerned about me being here. I just watched her act coldly. What are you be concerned about? Don't think I don't know. You don't be concerned about at all how many women are around me. Marcus grabbed my arm and pulled me into the room. Stop pretending to be pure. After we get engaged, I'll fuck you right now. He roughly pushed me down on the sofa and was about to press down after loosening the belt of his bathrobe. Looking at his ugly face at this moment, thinking that he might have just got off the bed with Mia. Thinking about how many women he had had this year, he was completely dirty and rotten. I felt so disgusted that I wanted to vomit. There was a wave of nausea in my stomach. When he was about to touch me, I grabbed an ashtray on one side and smashed it on the coffee table. The ashtray broke. My hand was full of blood. Mia screamed in fright. Marcus was obviously also very surprised. There was anger and fear in his eyes. Marcus, either wait until after we get engaged, or now, one of us goes to the hospital and the other goes to jail. I sat up and my voice was extremely calm. I didn't know what I wanted to do either. But in any case, I could delay 1 day at a time. If I really couldn't avoid it, then I, Aurora, would resign myself to fate and consider it being bitten by a dog. Marcus didn't know what concerns he had. He actually took 2 steps back slowly. I took the opportunity to stagger and run out of the room. After leaving the hotel, I squatted by the side of the road and vomited. My right hand was a bloody mess, with blood all over the place. Just now I didn't feel the pain. Only now did I realize that it hurt terribly. I struggled to get up and took a taxi to the nearest hospital. Only when I arrived at the hospital did I realize that this was the one where Ronan worked. I could only pray that he wasn't on duty today. When the nurse was cleaning my wound, I was shaking all over from the pain. But I endure with great effort, didn't cry. If it hurts, cry out. Don't endure it. As this deep, warm and gentle voice sounded from behind me, then I was immediately enveloped in a warm and broad embrace. Chapter 12. A faint smell of disinfectant was mixed with some aroma of tobacco. Apart from that, it was all clean and refreshing, very familiar and reassuring. Without looking up, I knew it was him. Tears finally welled up, his slender fingers gently covered my eyes. Bear with it. It'll be over soon. My tears flowed freely, wetting his palm. In the end, after the wound was treated and bandaged, he took me back to his home. On the way, I said I wanted to go back, but he firmly disagreed. I had an injury on my hand, and he helped me take a bath. Although we had such an intimate relationship, I still felt uncomfortable. I can wash slowly by myself. The wound will get infected if it gets wet. Be obedient. He wrapped me in a large bath towel and carried me to the bedroom. I'm next door. Call me if you need anything. He touched my forehead and was about to leave. Ronan. I gently tugged at his sleeve. Can you stay with me? I don't want to be alone. He looked at me for a long time and finally agreed. Okay, I'll take a shower first. When he came over after taking a shower, he smelled very good. I couldn't help but burrow into his arms and hug him with all my limbs. He had to be careful with my injured hand and endure at the same time. Aurora, don't provoke me. I didn't listen. I buried my face in his chest and rubbed it gently. Ronan, do you still remember things from college? Remember some. Then do you still remember that once in the library, the girl sitting opposite you stared at you for 2 hours and finally fell asleep? Was it very embarrassing? Not at all. Have you ever had someone you liked? Yes. I was stunned for a moment. In an instant, my heart was unbearably sour. She must be very beautiful and excellent. Just an ordinary girl who is good-looking. He stroked my hair. Maybe it was because he was talking about the person he liked that he was so gentle that it was heartbreaking. Ronan. Let's not talk about her tonight, okay? Okay. What do you want to say? Have you been with other women? No. He pinched my chin and kissed me. Aurora, I'm not a casual person. Chapter 13, then why did you, with me? But he had already kissed me, and I couldn't say the rest of the words. Naturally, he didn't answer this question. I found that he liked kissing my eyes very much, especially my thin eyelids. I thought, maybe it was because I had a pair of eyes very similar to the woman he liked. With all kinds of messy thoughts in my head, I was kissed until I was drowsy. In the last hazy consciousness, I seemed to feel Ronan say something in my ear, but I was so sleepy that I really didn't hear it clearly. He looked at me helplessly as I fell asleep and could only sigh and get up to take a shower. My injury basically recovered on the 3rd day. When we had dinner together for the last time, I proposed to go back. Ronan put down his chopsticks. Aurora, break up with Marcus completely. I shook my head. Ronan, there are some things I can't tell you. The only thing I can say is that unless Marcus is willing to break up. What on earth do you owe him? I wanted to say that I owed him a lot of money, the huge medical expenses for my mother who stayed in the ICU for 2 months. And the astronomical compensation for the accident. Later, after the doctor announced that my mother was brain dead and the rescue was ineffective, my mother's healthy and undamaged kidneys were removed and given to those in need. Only then did I know that both my parents had signed organ donation forms before they died. At that time, I cried so much that I was limp all over. Marcus took care of everything in the hospital personally. Don't ask anymore. In short, if Marcus refuses to break up with me, I can't break up with him. I lowered my eyes and slowly stood up. Thank you very much for taking care of me these days, Dr. Ronan. I bit my lip hard and finally took a last red-eyed look at him. Let's not see each other again. After saying that, I turned and left the restaurant. I changed my clothes, put on my shoes and left. Ronan didn't chase after me. This was the 3rd time I had rejected him. I was very clear that he would definitely never look for me again. Suddenly, Marcus's family proposed to advance the engagement date. The reason was that Vivian's health was getting worse and worse. So they wanted to hold the engagement ceremony quickly while Vivian could still go out. Vivian's mother seemed to be discussing with me, but I was very clear that there was no way for me to refuse. I couldn't repay the huge favor owed to Marcus's family and Marcus. I could only use myself to repay it. I silently agreed. Marcus's family seemed to be relieved and extremely happy. They chose a villa in the western suburbs to hold the engagement ceremony. Marcus and I needed to go there 3 days in advance. After the engagement date was set, Marcus's family held a grand banquet and invited all relatives and friends to attend. Ronan and his parents naturally came too. And they were the most important honored guests in Marcus's family. To my surprise, there was also a very beautiful and bright young girl with them. Chapter 14. The girl was holding his arm, and the atmosphere between them seemed very intimate. I just took a glance from afar and then withdrew my gaze. In the past few days, everything was settled. My short-lived affair with Ronan was just as illusory and short-lived as a dream. Ronan's mother was a very gentle and kind lady. When Vivian's mother introduced me to her, she held my hand and her tone and attitude were very warm and loving. But Ronan's attitude was very cold. Mrs. Ronan asked him to greet me, but he just nodded slightly coldly and then shifted his gaze. Ronan. The girl beside him gently tugged at his sleeve. She also gave me a friendly smile. Don't mind it. Ronan is just like this. I also returned a polite smile. It's okay. I followed Vivian's mother to entertain those relatives and friends. Marcus had always been a little afraid of Ronan and had already avoided far away. Finally getting a free moment, I quickly went to the bathroom. I actually didn't like this kind of social occasion very much. My family background was ordinary. My parents were ordinary employees. The people we associated with were also ordinary people. For a family like Marcus's, I couldn't get involved at all. Not to mention Ronan. Just now, Vivian's mother's fawning and flattering face in front of Ronan's family was really a bit unbearable. Although it didn't have much to do with me, I blushed a little when I heard them flattering Ronan's family. I looked at myself in the mirror, wearing luxurious dresses and precious jewelry. But this wasn't me. It was just a puppet. I missed my parents and my former home, but how could people go back to the past? When 2 lines of tears slowly slid down, I saw his figure in the mirror. My vision was very blurred, and his figure was also blurred. I felt that I might be having an illusion. He had a female companion with him. How could he come to find me? Why are you crying secretly here? It wasn't until his voice sounded that I seemed to wake up from a dream. I wanted to turn around, but he raised his hand and pressed my shoulder. I thought about never caring about you again. He slowly took a step forward. He was so tall. Even with high heels on, I only reached his chin. He hugged me and slowly lowered his head bit by bit, resting his chin on my shoulder. But just now you looked at me with grievance, and I softened. I didn't. Know what? As soon as I came in, your eyes turned red when you saw me. My eyes didn't turn red. I haven't slept well these days and I'm just a bit tired. As I said, I wanted to break free from him. Dr. Ronan, please let go first. It won't be good if people see. We've slept together. Isn't it too late for you to say these now? Ronan. Seeing me anxious with red eyes and wet eyelashes from crying, looking pitiful. He probably softened a bit and actually let me go. I quickly opened my handbag and took out my powder compact to touch up my makeup. He leaned against the sink, playing with a lighter, showing no intention of leaving. Aren't you leaving yet? After putting away my things, I gave him a sideways glance and asked in a low voice, Are you leaving? I'm leaving. Aurora, dare you come with me? He slowly straightened up and reached out his hand to me. Chapter 15, Ronan? I stared at him in a daze, disbelief filling my eyes. Aurora, I'll only ask you this once. Dare you come with me? His eyes burned as he looked at me, and in his pupils, my figure was reflected. Such a small, humble girl. When I was in college, I only dared to secretly bury my crush on him in my heart, sitting across from him in the library for 2 hours. I wrote countless words on a piece of paper, then crossed them out one by one. In the end, I still didn't dare to hand it out. Some people are born like pearls, dazzling and brilliant, and many more people are just insignificant specks of dust. The unspoken thoughts of a young girl carved on the bench under the school tree. The faint but still hideous scar carved on my wrist. The cowardly self who can't break free. When my parents left and I almost left with them. When my mother's kidney was taken out and put into a stranger's body. The night I agreed to Marcus's pursuit, he held me and kissed me. Although I was so uncomfortable that I was about to suffocate and vomit, I still had to endure it with a smile. When he was fooling around with my colleagues and even women of dubious character outside, I really wanted to have the backbone to slap him a few times and leave neatly. But in the end, I could only return to him like a dog. As long as Marcus doesn't let go, I will always be a puppet on a string. I know that Ronan may be a lifesaver for me. But if I use him to pay off that debt and then be with him, what's the difference between that and my current situation? Why should I put him in the same position as Marcus, such a scumbag? I can't bear to defile someone like him. I can't bear to let him be pointed at and have people say behind his back, Ronan, it turns out that he will also spend lavishly for a woman. Or a woman who is the distant cousin of his. So I can only push him away. Let me fall into the swamp and mud alone. Let me walk through every level of hell alone. If I can be lucky enough to get rid of all this past cleanly, get complete freedom, perhaps only then will I summon up the courage to confess to him. I shook my head at him. There are only 3 days left before I get engaged. So, Dr. Ronan, don't joke with me like this. His eyes gradually darkened. Before he could speak, I said again, I thought my meaning was already very clear. It's just adults' momentary indulgence. Or maybe, you can also take this as my venting and revenge for Marcus's infidelity. Venting and revenge? Ronan slowly chewed on these 2 words. He tilted his head slightly and gave a self-deprecating chuckle. So, that night, it was just your venting and revenge? Dr. Ronan. Actually, that night, I really had a great experience. If you are willing, I don't mind maintaining this relationship with you for a long time. Before I could finish this sentence, his stern face was already covered with frost. In the end, he didn't even look at me and left directly. I watched his back and leaned against the sink as if drained of strength. Chapter 16. My fingers were so cold and trembling uncontrollably. I slowly raised them and pressed them against my face. Ronan. I murmured his name softly. Just like in my girlhood, I would call his name like this countless times in my dreams. I remembered that afternoon when the sun was especially beautiful. There were so many people in the library, but strangely, the seat opposite him was empty. Several girls wanted to sit there, but none of them dared to go forward. Ronan's personality was rather cold. When people he didn't like confessed to him, he always directly refused without any regard for feelings. Girls had thin skins and were afraid that it would be very embarrassing if they were driven away by him. Naturally, I didn't dare to go forward either. When I was holding a few books and wanted to go upstairs, my roommate suddenly pushed me to that seat. I was startled and immediately wanted to get up and leave. But Ronan looked up. Then, without saying a word, he continued to lower his head and flip through the medical book in front of him. His fingers were long and slender, and his nails were neatly trimmed. He flipped through the pages bathed in a layer of sunlight. It was so beautiful and captivating. I sat stiffly. After a while, I stammered and asked, Senior, is there no one sitting here? He shook his head and took a reference book that was a bit close to me and placed it in front of himself. My heart pounded like a deer. In a panic, I also put down my books, but that day, I didn't even finish turning a page of the book. Actually, I didn't want to be so spineless and keep staring at him. But I really couldn't control myself. He was so close to me that I could even see the shadow cast by his eyelashes. I was so mesmerized that I didn't realize how ridiculous my lovesick look was at all. What was even more outrageous was that I could actually fall asleep while looking at him. When he left, he woke me up and handed me a tissue. I took it drowsily, when I saw that there seemed to be a very faint smile in his eyes. He pointed to the corner of my mouth and then to the book under my arm. His voice was clear and gentle. Wipe it off. And on the book too. I felt my own drool. My face instantly turned red as if it was about to explode. After returning, I was dejected for a very long time. I was so depressed that I didn't dare to appear in front of him again. Later, he graduated. When they took graduation photos, my roommate and I passed by the playground. Many girls wanted to take a photo with him as a souvenir. But he refused them all. I lowered my head and dragged my roommate away quickly. So I didn't hear that sentence. Aurora, do you want to come and take a photo with me? Chapter 17. When we met again, it was already 3 years later. I was Marcus's girlfriend. He was Marcus's cousin. Actually, it was a rather distant relative relationship. But Marcus's family was attached to Ronan's family, so they were very proactive and visited frequently. That day, he only glanced at me at the very beginning. He didn't say a word to me. By the end of the meal, the atmosphere at the table was even rather cold. I felt very embarrassed. Marcus comforted me. My cousin is like this. He comes from a good family, has outstanding abilities and looks. He is very conceited and aloof. But I didn't think so. He was indeed a bit cold in temperament, but he was not at all conceited and aloof. His grades were always excellent. At a young age, he became the youngest surgical expert in the hospital. I had seen how he treated patients. Polite, gentle, and extremely patient. There was no arrogance or superiority. I had also been his patient. I knew very well how good he was. Chapter 18. The night before leaving for the villa where the engagement ceremony was to be held, Marcus picked me up to have a meal at Marcus's house. That villa was brightly lit, but in my eyes, it was like a fierce beast with its mouth wide open. It would swallow me and crush my bones. I would never be reborn for all eternity. Vivian also had a meal with us. She looked a bit better and even dressed up. She even personally filled a bowl of soup for me and said softly, "Sister-in-law, drink more nourishing soup." She gave me a shy smile. Suddenly, I was surprised to find that the little fairy Mia seemed to look a bit like Vivian. What was even more terrifying was that in addition to Mia, it seems that all the women Marcus has been with more or less resemble Vivian. Yes. Eat more. Aurora is still a bit thin. Vivian's mother looked me up and down as she spoke. Why are you even thinner than before? Vivian was in poor health and soon left the table and returned to her room. After the meal, Vivian's mother personally brought me a cup of tea. I looked at that cup of tea and gave a very soft laugh. When the tea was no longer hot, I picked it up and drank it all in one gulp. Vivian's mother let out a light sigh of relief. Vivian's father also let out a sigh of relief. Marcus was playing with his phone. At the moment I drank the tea, he glanced at me and seemed to want to say something. But soon he withdrew his gaze and continued playing games as if nothing had happened. I lowered my eyelids. My heart was as cold as if a layer of snow had fallen. And Marcus, accompany me for a walk outside. I stood up and said. Everyone in Marcus's family was a bit surprised. Marcus put down his phone, looked at me, and still got up and went out with me. We walked all the way to the lawn before I stopped. The starlight is very beautiful tonight. Tomorrow will surely be a clear sky. The guests will rush to attend our engagement ceremony in 2 days. But in fact, I am very clear that there will be no engagement ceremony. I looked at Marcus and got straight to the point. Marcus, you don't actually need to go to such great lengths. What are you talking about? You only need to prepare an organ donation consent form for me to sign. Aurora. Marcus's expression suddenly changed. You know? Vivian's transplanted kidney has a very serious rejection reaction. Her health is getting worse and worse. She urgently needs a kidney transplant. I looked at him calmly. A month ago, you suddenly took me for a comprehensive physical examination. I had already vaguely guessed something. Aurora. Marcus frowned and looked at me pitifully. Since you already know, then I don't need to hide it anymore. Vivian really needs a kidney transplant. After your physical examination, the doctor has determined that your kidney is very suitable. My vision was already somewhat blurred. I knew there was something in that cup of tea. But I still drank it willingly. If I can pay off my debt to Marcus with this healthy kidney. I am willing. I am willing to leave with a broken body but cleanly. But I didn't expect to hear such a sentence. If I had known earlier that your kidney was the most suitable, there would have been no need to go to such great lengths to take your mother's kidney. What did you say? I staggered forward and wanted to grab his shirt. But Marcus pushed me away. Aurora, anyway, you are about to be reunited with your parents. I don't mind telling you. The accident back then was man-made. The purpose was to get your mother's kidney. We determined through special channels that your mother's kidney can be matched with Vivian's. And your parents had both signed organ donation consent forms, but that was after their deaths. Vivian couldn't wait. Sorry, Aurora. I only have this one sister. But she is more important than my life. For her sake, I would do anything, even commit murder and arson. I was lying on the cold ground. The drug took effect. My hands and feet were weak and I didn't have the slightest bit of strength. But Marcus said one last thing sinisterly, but don't worry. The surgery to remove your kidney will be performed by my cousin himself. He is highly skilled and will sew you up very beautifully. By the way, your mother's kidney back then was also taken out by him personally. Chapter 19. When I could vaguely open my eyes, I found that I had been fixed on the operating table. Someone lifted my clothes and was disinfecting my entire abdomen. As the cold alcohol was applied, I opened my eyes drowsily. The few people in front of me were all wearing surgical gowns and masks. My vision was blurred and I couldn't recognize who they were. Until finally, the chief surgeon put on gloves and walked to the bedside. I saw a pair of eyes as silent as a cold pool. And those eyes also looked at me steadily for a moment, and then indifferently moved away. I couldn't move. Just like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered, waiting to be butchered. At first, I was panicked for a moment. But soon, my heart returned to a state of calm. I recognized those eyes. They were very similar to Ronan's, but not his. The doctor held a scalpel and gently cut open my flesh. Blood gushed out instantly. But the door of the operating room was suddenly knocked open by a great force. Everyone looked over in a panic. Many policemen rushed in. But I only saw him. Ronan was wearing a very clean white shirt. I had rarely seen someone who could wear white so spotlessly clean. So, when my blood stained his white shirt, I was very sad and wanted to say sorry to him. But I couldn't make a sound. Every inch of my skin and every nerve in my body didn't seem to belong to me anymore. I could only blink at him and say silently, Ronan, sorry. Ronan's eyes were very red, as if covered with a layer of blood. He held me and strode out. I could feel that he clenched his teeth and the muscles on the side of his face were faintly twitching. Aurora, hold on. I won't let anything happen to you. He glanced down at me. His voice was trembling but also firm enough to be reassuring. I wanted to say that I would be fine. They hadn't had time to take my kidney yet. But this feeling of being cared about was really so warm and happy. I couldn't help but gently press my face against his chest. Even though Marcus slandered Ronan like that and lied that he had performed the surgery to remove my mother's kidney. But I never believed a single word. I had seen his oath of entry on the internet back then. His eyes were filled with tears and his oath was sonorous and powerful word by word. I knew that he would be the best and most responsible doctor in the world. He wouldn't collude with people like Marcus. He is the clean Ronan. I also have to be a clean Aurora. It's just that I am still too immature. I thought that one kidney could buy my freedom. But I never thought that the entire Marcus family had been involved in the black market organ trade years ago. So they had amassed astonishing wealth in just a few short years. And at the very beginning of all this, it started when one of Marcus's aunts, in order to climb up, did not hesitate to donate a kidney to an elderly and dying tycoon. Marcus's aunt rose rapidly from then on. The entire Marcus family also rose along with it. They seemed to have mastered the way to make money. Over the years, their hands were stained with blood and lives. A continuous stream of young and healthy organs was supplied to those dying people who controlled wealth but didn't want to die like this. Perhaps it was because they had done too many evil deeds, so retribution fell on their only daughter Vivian. And it also killed my innocent parents. This time, they wanted to repeat the same trick. Because they were worried that a car accident would damage my organs. In their plan, they were going to anesthetize me first and remove all my usable healthy organs. Then, on the way to the villa, they would create a car accident, start a fire, and destroy the body and eliminate the traces. Of course, they would do a good job in handling the aftermath. No one would find out what they had done. As an orphan girl, I would die tragically and silently. Others would only sigh and say, "Look, she was just one step away from marrying into a wealthy family." But unfortunately, she didn't have the good fortune. And Marcus's family would hold the grandest funeral for me to right Marcus's deep affection. And then, one after another new healthy girls would fall into their clutches. But fortunately, all this ended completely with me. Marcus and his parents, as well as everyone in Marcus's family involved in live organ trading, were imprisoned. They had several lives on their hands and were stained with blood. What awaits them will be legal sanctions. Marcus's sister Vivian, under shock, suffered from palpitations and kidney failure and didn't survive the surgery. My mother's kidney was naturally not removed by Ronan during the surgery. The doctor back then was bribed heavily by Marcus's family. Over the years, on the surface, he has been saving lives and healing the wounded. But in secret, his hands are stained with evil. Now he has to pay with his life and wait for the legal verdict. It can be said that he deserves what he gets. Chapter 20. Ronan should have noticed something wrong with Marcus's family 2 years ago. Vivian was in critical condition and several critical illness notices were issued. And when a kidney transplant was necessary, a suitable kidney just happened to appear. Not to mention that some people have been waiting for a suitable organ for many years. Even if someone is willing to donate, a successful match is required. So, such a coincidence made the meticulous him pay attention, until I had an accident. On the way to Marcus's house that night, I sent a text message to Ronan. But when I sent it, I deleted all the words. In the end, that text message was blank, but as intelligent as he is, he naturally noticed something abnormal. Ronan was also very, very angry afterwards. He sat by my bedside, seriously, earnestly, and meticulously educating me. "Aurora, people who earn this kind of money are completely without conscience. Do you know that when I later inspected the entire operating room and checked their preparation procedures, I found that they were not planning to take just one of your kidneys that night, but all your healthy organs? If you are so stupid again and don't take your own safety seriously, see how I deal with you." He was obviously very angry and his emotions were somewhat out of control. I was indeed a little scared afterwards, but now I am very safe. The man I deeply love is guarding me like a mountain. "Ronan." I took his hand, but he wouldn't let me hold it. He pursed his lips and pulled it away forcefully. I persevered and have the nerve continued to hold his finger. He wanted to pull it out again, so I frowned. "The incision hurts so much. Stay still and lie down." He was startled and quickly helped me lie down. Then he lifted my clothes and checked my wound. Looking at his focused, serious, and affectionate eyes, countless sweetness surged in my heart. "Ronan." I gently touched his face. "Hug me, okay?" He looked at me, and I looked at him pitifully. He was soft-hearted towards me and couldn't continue to be angry with me, so he reached out and hugged me. "Brother," I whispered in his ear. "That day when I went to the hospital for a breast examination, when you saw me, why were your ears so red?" After saying this, I found that the tip of his ear was faintly turning red again. "You are a surgeon. You've seen everything. When you look at other girls, do your ears turn red too?" "Aurora." Ronan's breathing was a little chaotic. "You are a girl. Be more reserved. Does brother like me to be more reserved?" Ronan looked down at me. Seemingly afraid that I would be unhappy, he frowned and coaxed me. "You can be a little less reserved, but only in front of me." Seeing that I was still unhappy, he helplessly said, "Well, do whatever makes you happy." This is the sentence Ronan loves to say to me the most in the years to come. Because I have no close relatives in this world, he especially pities and tolerates me. He is afraid that I will suffer the slightest grievance and be a little bit unhappy. On the day we established our relationship, Ronan formally introduced me to his family and friends. When he introduced me to those younger siblings, he said a line that was very familiar to me. "From now on, when you see Aurora, don't call her randomly. She is your legitimate sister-in-law." The girl who came with him to Marcus's house for the banquet that day was looking at us with a smile. "Sister-in-law, I knew Ronan liked you." I was a little shy and a little surprised. I had suspected their relationship before. As soon as Ronan entered that day, his eyes were fixed on you. Chloe smiled and hugged my arm. But sister-in-law is really beautiful. I like you very much too. I couldn't help but look back at him. Heaven is really fair. What you have lost will always be compensated to you in other ways someday in the future. What are you looking at? He reached out and touched the top of my head. His eyes were helpless and indulgent. Why are you so handsome? I hugged his arm and couldn't help but sigh softly. At this moment, it was like returning to my carefree girlhood. Ronan looked at me reservedly. This handsome person will always be yours from now on. Are you happy? Of course I am happy. While no one was paying attention, I tiptoed and secretly kissed his chin. He coughed softly. The temperature of the fingertips holding my hand rose and gradually became scalding. Don't be in a hurry. It's not dark yet, he whispered to me. But I held his hand and pulled him out of the hall all the way. Then I ran to the end of the corridor where there was no one. Aurora. He held my hand and told me to run slower. Under the moonlight, I looked at his handsome eyebrows and eyes. I couldn't help but raise my hand and hold his face. Dr. Ronan. My hyperplasia problem still seems to be unresolved. It hurts a little again tonight. Do you want to re-examine me? My fingers slowly moved down, slid along his chest to his fingertips. Then I held it, gently lifted it, and pressed it tightly against my heart. Dr. Ronan's medicine doesn't seem to work. Then how about changing a method? I heard that having the patient's husband do some appropriate massages can relieve the pain. As he spoke, he lowered his head. The moonlight like water completely enveloped him and me. Ronan kissed me, and our fingers were tightly interlocked. Aurora, I was kissed so dizzy by him. As he spoke, he looked at me tenderly, and there was a very faint smile in his voice. I watched her sleeping for a long time. Later, when I left, I woke her up and pointed to her book. I left my mobile phone number in that book, but she didn't see it. Ronan, I was stunned. At that time, I was only embarrassed by the fact that he saw me drooling. How would I notice that he pointed to that book? However, fortunately, it's not too late. What's mine will always be mine sooner or later. He hugged me tightly and whispered in my ear, Aurora, you are my most important lost and found.